Hi, I'm David Molner. I am the founder and managing director of Screen Capital International. They're in my office in Beverly Hills. We finance movies. I founded the company. I'm the only shareholder. You can see we have 6 employees here in Beverly Hills. We have 2 exclusive partnerships, one inside the U.S. and one outside with 2 other companies that are in similar areas. One has maybe 40 employees, the other has about our size, and so all in, that's 50, 60. We basically raise money outside the United States in places where you can derive tax advantages from an investment in film, which is not the case in the U.S. We do this today in Australia, Germany, UK, Ireland, about to go into Hungary, and we have 3 other jurisdictions on the board. Raised over $3 billion to date. We've worked with 6 studios. It's really only 7. 5 probably solid customers, and a number of major independents. Sometimes we get involved in buying and selling music publishing rights, recording masters, or we may be helping some company try and find its way into some area of the music business, which could be, ringtones. It is a funny time in the business, though, from my vantage point, and I look at the dollar side of it, and I look at the trends. You see within the last 5 years these big mergers, and I don't know, Winston Marsalis gets dropped from a label. People who are selling less than 250,000 units are dropped from a place like Universal Music Group. You think, how successful do I need to be? It's very difficult. I mean, it's kind of an old paradox about commerce and art. And I think if you want to make a living out of it, you have to be alive to the practical questions. But if you want to be good at it, and you want to be happy doing it, and you want to get up in the morning wanting to do it, you got to keep other things in mind, which is, am I dressing up in a chicken suit and singing some song I don't like, or am I writing my stuff and going my way? Because, authenticity counts for a lot more, I think, whether it's in this form of entertainment or in anything else that you're doing, than people realize, particularly when you're young. Because what you think is, I need the contract that assures my success, or I need an in or a break or a connection. The thing that makes you stand out is, do you have the confidence in what you're doing? And it's easy to say, and I think it's easy to take intellectual hold of on a certain level, but to live that and approach the risks in your life with that's a whole other matter. The most important thing is figure out what you want to do. I find too many people come in and they say, I think I want to be this or that. And when you dig into the questions, what you find is they're chasing a pattern of success, because what they want is to have had that person's fortune, and just merge it with the fact pattern of their own life. And to me, it's an ill-placed wish. You have your own path, and you got to get comfortable with it. And the quicker you do, the sooner you're going to become a trailblazer. But you have to have the guts to do that. You have to say, what am I about? What do I really like? What's my sound? What's my money phrase? What makes me laugh? What do I do that makes other people laugh? And it's the same thing when I get people who come in and they say, I really want to be in the entertainment business. And I say, why? And they say, well, I just love the product. Going to the movies, you can't confuse a hobby with a job. Another thing I tell people is, are you prepared to eat tuna fish and macaroni and cheese? And what sacrifices are you prepared to make? One way to test whether you've given yourself an honest answer is how much you're willing to give up to get that. And then once you figure out what you want to do, maybe you want to be an A&R executive. Okay, that's focused. The most valuable thing any young person approaching a new industry can do is be focused in the search. And this always sounds irritating coming from older people who have already established some success, because you think, well, that's easy for you to say, look where you are. The truth is, if you don't have that, no one knows how to help you. Because you show up And no matter how bright you seem or talented or whatever, if you don't have focus, now I have to focus for you. And I have 10 other things to do.
Right.
But if you come in and you say, I want to be your next A&R guy. Yeah, I can say, I've got no openings. You say, let me work for free. You know, can I just come to your meetings? I mean, how persistent are you? Do you really? But it comes back to the question, is that what you really want to do? Because no one behaves like that if they half want to do it. So, you know, it's a great quote from Woodrow Wilson, who said, persistence and diligence alone are omnipotent. You know, that nobody has such unique skills, or very, very few people that are complete originals. The truth is, it's, do I want to be this thing? Can I identify everybody who does this at 20 companies and stalk them? Because the truth is, over 6 months, someone will give you a break. But no one will give you a break when you're like, well, I don't know, and you know, I like all this stuff, and the other day I went to this concert, and if you just sound like you're all over the map, you're never going to get that. Just the way, you know, how many people stop and give the guy in the street corner some change? They don't. Of course, if the guy in the street corner had the A&R sign up, you know, someone would stop by and go, you really want to be an A&R exec? You know, it would be weird and specific enough that it would get people's attention.
Right.
So, I don't know. Those are the general pieces of advice that I give people. And then when people make those choices, you can say, if that's what you want, maybe I know somebody, or maybe I read something. I don't think it's a real magic bullet issue. I think it's getting people to come to terms with how focused their search is and how prepared they are to take their search seriously. You know, it would not seem from history that the artistic mind, much less the temperament, is suited to the kinds of discipline that are required for business or success in business. I do think, interestingly enough, in the music world, which because of all this technology and the online advances is the most democratized form of entertainment now. I mean, it's a much more level playing field. And in that much more level playing field, one of the interesting things that you find is a little bit of knowledge goes a long way. You know, do I understand the difference between master recording and publishing? And what is the publisher's share versus the writer's share? Who are the, you know, what is a controlled composition clause in my contract? Do I understand what the contract actually says? Or, I mean, you can't be, I don't think that you need to think of yourself as the one who's making business decisions about your career, but you need to know enough to get a fair deal. And then I think you have to rely on the rest of your instincts about the kind of people you hang around with. I have a whole thing about elevator pitches, which is that, as we all know, there's different elevators. You know, there's the one in the Paris Hotel with the crank, and like only 2 people can fit in there. It only goes up 4 floors. And then there's the one at the Sheraton in Times Square. It goes up 45 floors, and you're going to be waiting forever, and there's a bunch of stops. And my point is, when you have the long version of your idea, you know, with your business plan and your 18 slides and the full package, the best way to rehearse it is kind of like in the commercial music world, well, the production music world. You know, you need your 10-second cue, your 30-second, and your 2-minute, because you don't know how long the elevator ride's going to be. And if you can do different versions of that and really say, okay, here's my 1-sentence version, here's my 5-minute version, here's my we're sharing a cab to the airport version, you're pretty much prepared for any situation. And so when people say things to you like half of life is showing up and 90% is luck and 10% is timing, those comments are made about a world that will throw you opportunities when you're not expecting them. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. The guy I worked for at Paramount, the chairman, told me, we will never be the ones who did, no one will ever have done more homework than us. That was our goal. Not to be the most clever, not to be the smartest, but to have done all the work. And then you're ready for for whatever elevator ride that may be. And one of the best things I ever learned was that you have to be interested in the success of people who work for you and work with you. When you're out of college, out of high school, whatever, in that first working period of your life where you're so hungry for it, ambition can topple some of your other qualities, and you can become very competitive with other people. Being interested in the success of those people around you is a great quality. And it is, I think, the quality that ultimately enables you to be a decent manager. And it means you have to take an interest in what people are doing. You have to not just apply some discipline or some theory of systematic organization to who's doing what and is it the most efficient. My goal is always, are we using people the right way, in the sense that we're getting as much done as we can with the amount of arms and legs that we do, mm-hmm. but those people like what they're doing, you know? No one's looking at the clock at 5:59, and no one's complaining about, you know, having to stay longer or whatever it is. That's and you have to, you know, some people talk about being able to delegate. I always think about being able to incentivize them more, you know. Can I push people to grow out of their roles? I mean, I have people who started working for me and they never thought they would go on to work in certain areas of the business that we have. And every once in a while a project comes along and I'll say, why don't you tackle this part of it? Something that goes along with that is the ability to give instruction. You know, some people are a little delicate, other people are too proud, whatever. You have to figure out a way to break through that and say, when I'm telling you something, it's, you know, it's for your benefit. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time, but I will give it to you straight. And you have to just establish that channel of communication. You know, the other lesson I learned really when I had my first job at Paramount was you go a very long way so long as you don't need to take credit for anything. Always served me very well. Very few people know about our company. We got a great business going. You know, I don't have the sunglasses and the white scarf and those kind of things that the more visible producers and the creative people in Hollywood, it's always jousting for a position. We're also in a specialty business, so we can afford to have that profile. But if you do what you do well and you're not fighting for the credit, other people will want you on their team. Well, you know, I feel like some people approach job searches like roulette or something, like they're just spinning the wheel and maybe if we click, he'll hire me, you know, or so-and-so knows my uncle. I mean, it's easy to be critical of that slacker attitude. And yet I also recognize what's difficult about that age or being in that place where you just don't really feel like the world of opportunity is calling you. And it makes you down, it makes you a little depressed, difficult to muster the energy. You know what, just take a cold shower. You got to get over it. At some point you got to get over yourself and your lack of experience and you're this or you're that, and you have to find something that you're either passionate about or you're really good at faking passion about. But that's what sells. Somebody comes in, I mean, I'll give you an example. Evar, when I first started the company, it was just 2 employees. And then we got Evar's resume from, he was still at UCLA or USC or one of these schools doing a film degree. And he wrote us a letter applying to our internship program. So I looked at JP and I said, do we have an internship program? You know, we don't. We only have 3 employees, including you. So I said, oh, bring him in. And he was just so gung-ho. I mean, I said, how can I not hire you? I said, I don't know. I don't know if we can pay you yet, but we certainly, he said, I don't need to be paid. I just want to start, show you I'm good. He's been here 3 years, and he's now one of the top guys. You know, I think it applies to any world. I think it applies to the music world. Unfortunately, the structural changes in the music world also mean that a number of traditional jobs are all in the process of reorganizing. So like my friend Rob Jacobs that I was telling you about, who was sound engineer, that business is dropping off. And you have enormously talented people who are not being hired by the old economy of the music business, and they're being displaced. And they're running around trying to find the next thing to do. When you're young, the things that you can do are spend time learning from people who are great. Try and find the best people, and to the extent you can, work for them for free. Not everybody can do that, but you'd be surprised how much doing that for 4 weeks will lead to something. Or offering to work part-time for something just to get the experience. Because the little experiences that you collect, they're all trading cards, and they lead to the next thing. And generally, the only thing you ever talk about for opportunity, for current opportunity, is what you immediately did, what the last thing you did was. And so you have to bargain with your own energy and the freedom that you have in your life. And when you're young, you have a lot of freedom. And you don't realize it. You think of the freedom as this burden. What the hell am I going to do? And don't want to move in with my parents or move back with them. And, fortune favors the bold. I don't think that there is much that you can do for kids beyond giving them a feeling of safety and love in the home. No matter what else happens, you're not going to enforce your discipline or teach right from wrong, but fundamentally, they're loved as kids. And as they develop, you may have all these notions for them. He was going to be an architect, or she's going to be president or something. I think the best thing you can do is to develop a sense of confident adventure in young people. That sense of course you can. Why can't you do that? Go for it. And it is difficult because some people come from backgrounds. I think also many parents bring to parenting the sense of obligation that they must provide something better for their children than what they had. And the definition of better will be measured by reference to the parent's past. And the truth is there are other ways of measuring it. How much choice did they have, and did they feel they could go off on a path that would not have been my choice, and I was 100% behind them. Somebody who gives that to a child, I think, gives them the greatest gift. I always say that, that sounds very paternalistic, I guess I don't say it that much, but I always think to myself that if you're true to your own path, which is kind of this internal sense of what fits with you, kind of like when you try on a jacket or clothes or listen to music, you always have your own innate sense of what's you. Yeah, it's really me. And if you bring that same sensibility to career decisions, whether they're wildly ambitious or whether they're calculated and smart and secure, your own path tends to bring you around. But the more choices you make for other people or because of some short-term concern, the more you're going to kind of pinball around. And, the best advice, I dated a girl once who had given a speech at her boarding school, I guess, to the graduating class. And she had a phrase in there that I always remembered and I've often repeated, which is, she said, don't worry about what you want to do with your life. Worry about who you want to be. And it sounds pretty corny, sounds a little bit canned, I think, to young ears. The older you get, the more you find yourself in situations where you think, how the hell did I get here? What, am I this person doing this and that? And what has shaped my decision making? And it sounds so funny to young people because you think, I know who I am. What I want is a job and money and a car and tickets to the game. And the more you know about who you are, the better decisions you will make for you. Because, frankly, there's 100 decisions for you, and there's a lot of opportunity. You can be closed off to it, you can whine about this and that, or you can dust yourself off and go knock on a lot of doors. The person knocking on the doors is what makes a difference. Who is that person? Do they show up and they're confident, and they're like, yeah, man, that's not for me. You know, here's what I really want. That person goes places. It plays a huge role. Normally, it doesn't for someone who's just thinking about, can I get ahead? Can I get somewhere at all? The truth is, the more success you have, the more you have to take ethics into account, because opportunities pile in on you. And inevitably, someone will suggest something that's a little off. Maybe you think it's a good idea, or make you make a ton of money, or you can be really famous doing it, or whatever your particular goal is. But maybe it's fraud. You know, it goes back to this idea of, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the guy that does that deal? Or, you know, do you know who you are? And you're like, yeah, but that's like jail time, so no thanks. Or is that not fair to my partner? You know, yeah, of course I could do that, but it's not who I am. It's a good test. You can say to yourself, good idea, not for me.